welcome to another episode of Aligned Heart. This is Misty Springer, and today we are talking about change your self-concept and you will change your world. I have been contemplating this for myself, actually, the last several hours as I've been thinking about the very first time that I ever invested in myself for coaching. And it was about over 10 years ago. And it was an excruciating experience, to say the least. I just remember being up the night before. I had been offered a coaching package. I wanted to do it. I wasn't sure if it was the right thing. My hands were sweaty. I had been up all night tossing and turning. The fear in my body was palpable. It felt like my entire nervous system was on high alert, and I wanted to just turn and run. And I remember the coach asking, "Is this the first time you've invested in yourself?" And that question has stood out to me. And the reason that that has stood out to me is because it hit so close to home. It was so true. I knew that the noise in my head, the disquiet that I felt in my body was the second voice. It wasn't the truth. It was the limiting beliefs. It was the fear. It felt I had the fear that this was too much money, that this was selfish, that I could be spending this money on a family vacation, that I wasn't sure if I had what it took to make this work. It was a palpable fear in my body, and it wasn't true. Because when I dropped down into my heart, what I knew in my heart was that my desires mattered, that I felt this divine potential within me, and I wanted to create something. And I knew that this wasn't going to be something that I could just do on my own. One of my beliefs was, well, I'll figure it out. I'll read a book. I'll listen to a podcast. I'll figure this out on my own. And when I dropped down into the truth of my heart, I knew that that was not true. That if I could have figured it out with information alone, I would have already. It was not about the coach. It wasn't even that the coach was incredible or amazing, or that at the end of that time we had coaching together, that I had everything that I desire. But in that moment that I said yes to that coaching experience, I changed. My belief, my self-concept changed in that moment. In that moment, I realized that my desires matter. I put an exclamation point behind me and my ability to create what I desire. It wasn't coming from a place of something I need to fix, something that's broken in me. It was coming from this deep desire to create something and to tap into a possibility that I knew was there, that I could sense, but that I was not able to access on my own. And since that time, since that shift in my self-concept, I have been able to continue to invest in coaching because I know the value of shifting your self-concept, that when you change your self-concept, when I change my self-concept, my whole world changes. That's what I have experienced. When I contemplate back, when I put myself back into the me of that 12 years ago, my self-concept has immensely shifted. It has moved into a space of what I desire matters. And when I have that desire, when I recognize that I am not a victim of my circumstances, that I am not, my mood isn't dependent on what's going on around me, that I can create the life that I want, that's empowering. That's a shift in self-concept that no one can take away from me, and that is invaluable. We often there was a question in a game once that said, "What are you willing to spend your money on?" And that question has stood out to me because I don't necessarily need to invest in a new couch. I don't need to invest in expensive clothing, um, or fancy products or even a new car. Those are nice things, but those are not the things that drive me. What I want to spend my money on is my expansion, because that to me feels motivating. It feels exciting. When I think about the possibility of what I can co create with God, that is what lights me up. That's what makes my life feel meaningful and empowered and purposeful. And I can say, because my self concept has changed, I am a better wife. I'm more loving. I'm more forgiving. I'm willing to see my own faults through a more clear lens. I'm willing to change. I'm willing to forgive. I'm willing to let go. I'm a more present mom. I I recently had my son tell me that um, my son and my daughter actually tell me that they were choosing career paths based on what they had seen me do. And that was so empowering for me because I have never approached my family from a place of, you should do this. I've always just gone about creating from a space of this is what I'm meant to be doing. And to see that my children have taken that and recognized the potential and the possibility within themselves simply from me living into that potential and possibility. I didn't I didn't shout it from the rooftops. I didn't drill it into them. We weren't yelling positive affirmations every night at dinner time. None of that. It was just quietly living my truth that what I can create is possible, that I have unique divine gifts that are meant to be shared. And that if that is true for me, that's true for every single one of you. That's true for my children. That's true for my husband. I hold a higher sense of capacity, not only for myself, but for my husband, my children, my clients. I have a depth and a wisdom that only comes from walking the path that my clients want to walk. My clients are powerful co creators in their own life. They recognize that they want something more, and they want it from a place of truth. They want it from a place of divine potential. They want it from a deep space within them that feels that divine discontent, that knows that they are meant for more. And it's not coming from a place that feels broken. It's coming from a place of possibility, of what's next, that I haven't created it yet, but I will, and that I can create it faster and with more ease when I have support, when I can see, when I can have somebody believing in me and my potential, when I can have somebody help me see my blind spots, when I can have somebody that challenges my thinking in the way that I'm looking at the world and the lens that I'm choosing to see the world with, when I can bring my limiting beliefs without shame or judgment to just be looked at with curiosity and gently reframed in my body, my nervous system expanding because it feels safe to do so. That is the power of coaching. That is what makes your self concept shift. That is what changes your world. And I can honestly say that that is what coaching has done for me. And that is why I continue to have a coach. That is why I don't invest in a couch, but I do invest in a coach. Not that I have to choose between the two, both are available, but my priority is my growth, is my self concept, because that's so much bigger than me. It's so much bigger than something that is just a personal development byproduct. It is shifting the world in which I live and which the people that I serve and love live too. So if this is something that you want, I encourage you to think about your process. Where have you been? Where are the spaces that you have said yes to your desires? Where are you believing differently about yourself? Where is your self-concept shifting? Because where you shine your light is what you see, and what you see is the direction you go. So continue to focus on those places that you are shifting and changing, those places that feel expansive, those places that feel not am I shifting, but what is shifting. There's a very different response when you connect, get quiet, drop into your heart, and ask that question of God, where am I shifting versus am I shifting? You're going to get an answer that may surprise you. You might see things that are brought to your attention that you maybe weren't aware of before. So when you change your self-concept, you change the world in which you live. Neville Goddard said that. I read that quote, probably over 12 years ago. And I've seen that come to pass. I'm continuing to see it come to pass, not because all of my results are perfect, not because my life is perfect, but because I've seen my self-concept change, and that has changed everything. So if you would like to explore this more, I'm offering a package for a limited time. If you're listening to this going to June, and in June, I am offering a 3-package session. I'm dropping all the details in the show notes below. So I hope that you will join me for that. I hope that you'll consider changing your self-concept, changing into that version of you that is fulfilling your divine potential. And if you want to step into a breathwork session to expand into that divine potential, to open up that possibility, to see where you have been and what is being created in your life, I invite you to do that with me in the next podcast. I always include a meditation along with each podcast. So hop on over, join me there, and we'll step into that expansion and recognizing and exploring where your self-concept has changed and what that's doing for you. Thank you all for being here. It's my pleasure and honor to be with you on this podcast. Thank you for listening.